Well, hello my lovelies, it's Murky Meg here. It's Monday the 1st of March, and if you don't already know by now, oh my. The Oprah / Harry and Meghan interview that is supposed to be a tell-all and shocking interview has dropped some tidbits, some teasers, a trailer or two, and it looks like it's going to be a very damaging interview from the start of it. First thing to note is that it's now changed from 90 minutes to 2 hours, which allows CBS to rake in up to an extra $200,000 per 30-second ad. Well, that's saying something, isn't it? They're sitting in a glorious garden with Oprah sitting opposite them, looking very forlorn and concerned. But the most mind-blowing bit, and this is the bit that's going to be played over and over and over and over again, is where Oprah Winfrey pushes Meghan Markle on whether she was silenced by the Crown. She asks, "Were you silent or were you silenced?" And then Harry is also piping up, claims that he emigrated to Los Angeles with his family because he feared history repeating itself after the death of Princess Diana. He said that leaving the royal family was unbelievably tough, and Oprah claimed the couple both say some pretty shocking things in the bombshell interview. And like Oprah can, she likes to really whip things up into a frenzy, doesn't she? Oprah promises viewers that there will be shocking revelations with no subject off limits in the heavily produced teaser. In the teaser, Meghan is sat there rubbing her bump, wearing a $4,700 black Armani dress. We all knew that she would wear black. The reason we knew that was because Diana in the Martin Bashir interview also wore black. She was also very heavy on the eyeliner, aka the same interview with Diana and Martin Bashir. But what's really spooky, and I think you'd rather like this, is that there was another Martin Bashir interview with somebody else that also wore black, very heavily on the eyeliner too, and looks a really similar detail on the shoulders. It was Michael Jackson. You've really got to laugh, haven't you? She's emulating Diana and Michael Jackson at the same time. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Apparently, Meghan reveals that her 20 months as a royal was almost unsurvivable. They really do like that, unsurvivable, because Harry mentioned it in his James Corden bus top tour. He said that the invasion of the press was unsurvivable and it was toxic, and for his own mental health he had to get out, that he wasn't stepping away, he was just stepping back. Harry is seen in a smart grey suit, but of course those wretched shoes are still on display, which have holes in them still, so she can wear an Armani dress for almost $5,000, but Harry doesn't get new shoes. In the teaser clip, Harry tells Oprah Winfrey, "I'm just really relieved and happy to be sitting here talking to you with my wife by my side, because I can't begin to imagine what it must have been like for her," i.e. Diana, all those years ago, because it's been unbelievably tough for the two of us, but at least we had each other. It's clear, plain and simple, that this interview will be leaning heavily on both the victim narrative and Diana to try and justify their decisions with reference to them leaving the royal family, history repeating itself, and this comparison to Diana needs to stop. There have been no pap photos, apart from one instances of Harry and Meghan in the UK. They were papped coming out of the apothecary when Meghan Markle was heavily bumped up, shall I say. The reason why there was no pictures of them walking around, being around, is because there's a gentleman's agreement between the paparazzi and Buckingham Palace to leave the royals alone. They're given access to the royal circular and all of their events so they can take pictures, so long as they don't manipulate the system and pap royals about their normal everyday lives. It's always been there. But of course, Harry and Meghan take it a step further. They are putting the blame of them having to step away from the royal family squarely on the media's shoulders. Let's just get one thing straight, shall we? Harry was not destined to be king, unlike Charles and Diana. The victim narrative and the poor little us routine is wearing extremely thin at the moment. They are both living very privileged lives which were only because of his connection to the royal family. Harry has lived an unimaginable life, and if he was so determined to stop the history repeating itself, why on earth would he do a sit-down interview with Oprah? That's what I can't get. He wants to protect his family, but by doing the Oprah interview and the James Corden interview, he's just putting himself out there for more victimness, isn't he? Does he understand that if he talks to the media, or if you can call Oprah media because she's not a journalist, she's a talk show host, but he must have known that this was going to go global, and if he was so adamant about his privacy and protecting his family, surely he'd just step away and just do whatever he wants to do that he feels that comes under the guise of services universal, and just do that. Do your work, promote it as you will, but don't sit down at Oprah's table and go, oh, we were hounded, oh, it was terrible, oh, it was unsurvivable. You are opening up yourselves for more drama, more harassment, more media coverage, and you're just whipping it all up into a frenzy, which is something you didn't want. I'm going to say one thing. This whole Diana thing, you wanted to take Meghan and Archie away from the toxicity of the media and that he didn't want history repeating itself. Diana, tragic, unbelievably, and it must have really, really affected him. No child gets over the death of a parent, and I can probably imagine that it haunts him every single day. But Diana was no angel. She played the media just as much as the media played her. She knew exactly how to use the media for her own benefit. She wasn't wearing a seatbelt that night. She was also being driven by a drunk driver. Those are very dangerous things and situations to be in. If she would worn a seatbelt, she would have probably been alive today. The media, yes, were hounding her, but that is nothing new. The media always hounded her because she invited them in and then wanted to stop them when she didn't want them. You can't do that. You don't play with the media like that. A lot of celebrities you never hear from. They just go about their normal everyday lives. They're not courting the media. But these celebrities that literally feed information through to the media and then suddenly go, oh, no, I want my privacy. It's not the way that it works, unfortunately. If you play the media, you have to expect the media to play with you. And them harping on about Diana again and again and again. Is this the only string to their bow? It's getting boring now. It's as if Harry was the only child of Diana. Does William harp on about this? Does he keep going and manipulating the situation for sympathy? No, because he knows what's expected of him. He's dealt with it in his own way. He has a woman that stands by his side and supports him, not manipulates him. And I believe that this plan was all along. Meghan would have been in his ear. We're brighter. We can be better. They don't appreciate you. Let's go on our own. We can be global. We can be bigger and better than your brother. But by bringing out the child in him, really kind of raking up old grounds, and I swear that she's done this. In my opinion, she has made things a lot worse in Harry's mind, because it never was like this before. But maybe it was. Maybe Harry didn't know how to express himself, and she is the person that has guided him through the shining light to see what he really wants. But I don't think so. If Harry wasn't royalty, nobody would give him the time of day, and he's only in this position because he is the Queen's grandson. Do you think Oprah would sit down with him if he was just some other celebrity or somebody that does charity work? Would he get the level of interest if he wasn't the Queen's grandson? If he was so petrified of history repeating itself and being hounded by the press, why on earth would they agree to this interview? It's just stoking the fire, isn't it? By doing this type of interview, it's providing more media coverage and more interest. But because this victim narrative and speaking about Diana keeps happening over and over and over again, it's the only thing that they have of relevance to speak about now. And they will dine on this for years and years. Be prepared for this to come up at every single interview. They want the sympathy card. They want America and the world to fall into the narrative that they were the poor little victims, that they were the ones that were forced out, that they were the ones that really wanted to do their service but weren't allowed to do their service because all they did was they wanted privacy. I mean, honestly, this is all they've got to bring to the table, haven't they? The victim narrative, the race card, and also Diana card. They've got nothing else to share. We saw it in the South Africa documentary, didn't we? The poor little us routine. And it's coming up. How many times are we going to have to do an interview where the same thing is said over and over and over again? I mean, Harry has squarely put himself in the Netflix corner. As I mentioned before, he plugged Netflix 3 times in his James Corden bus stop tour. And he also said that he supported The Crown and that he wanted Damian Lewis to play him. He said that The Crown was obviously fiction, so therefore it's okay. Can you imagine how that went down in Buckingham Palace? But the thing that really does get me choked up is that this interview was filmed on the day that Prince Philip went into hospital. He's still in hospital, by the way, and nobody really knows, apart from an infection, what is wrong with him. This is his 14th day. If he had an infection and it was cleared up, he'd be out by now. But by sitting down to an interview when your grandfather is ill in hospital, it's spiteful and incredibly distasteful as well. But what these 2 clips are proving is that Harry is only ever going to lean on that victim narrative. It's the only thing he has to offer, that he is Diana's son. But what he fails to get is that he's using his mother's memory to try and justify his actions. And I don't think that would sit well with Diana herself. I can only imagine how William is feeling right now for his brother to be bringing up his mother yet again to try and justify exactly how he's behaved. At some point in an adult's life, you have to look back and take stock at your own actions, and you have to own up to your own decisions, your own actions, and the way that you have behaved. You can't lean on somebody else's actions or their fate in running your life the way that you do. He himself and Meghan made this decision. Whether or not it was the right one, only he and Meghan will ever know that. But you can't keep leaning on somebody else's tragedy, although it was his tragedy too, but he's not a child anymore. But what he's done now is he's defaulted back into child mode to justify leaving the royal family. Does it really need to be so vocal though? These clips have gone viral worldwide, and it's done exactly what they were prepared to do so. They wanted a global reach for this interview. Ultimately, they want ratings to go through the roof. But surely that goes against the element of protecting yourself and being private. Then there are those that say, well, he wanted privacy on his own terms. He wanted to control the narrative. Well, what about Diana's legacy and controlling her narrative? How does William feel about that? How does he feel about his brother manipulating his mother's memory to justify his actions? I don't think that will sit well with him at all. So I would love to know your thoughts on all of this. Were you surprised at the things that were going to be alluded to in the interview? How did you think Meghan looked? You know, the whole doe-eyed thing again, hand on the belly, wearing a very expensive outfit, kind of clutching his hand as if to say, we've been through so much, but we've survived. Is she thriving? You've got to ask the question though, if she was thriving, why on earth do they keep rehashing the same old story? Do you think it's fair that Harry put the reason why they stepped away solely on the media, and the British media at that was so venomous towards them, or so they say? Or do you think the media was justified in taking them in their aim? A lot of people are speculating on Meghan's face. I'm not going to do that. I'm not, because I don't really do that. I don't want to put anybody down, but does look remarkably different. Whether or not that's because apparently she's pregnant. Did anybody hear she's pregnant? No, not heard a thing. Wouldn't ever. No, she likes to keep these things private, doesn't she? And what do you think the feeling is going to be like about these clips being released by Buckingham Palace? Do you think that they will get to see this interview before it airs, or do you think they're going to have to watch it as it airs? I have so much sympathy for Buckingham Palace right now. Can you imagine they're just literally probably going to be running around like headless chickens thinking, oh, what next? Anyway, I'd love to know your thoughts on all of this. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit the notification bell, and also that like button. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of my followers for all the tips and all the emails, DMs that everybody sends to me. It really is greatly appreciated. So thank you very much for watching once again.